Right, let's start. We were focusing on EIGRP enterprises consideration, in which we saw summarization is good, and then we were speaking about the performance of EIGRP, which may be affected when we have depth of topology or many number of neighbors that gets impacted when there is a small change. To avoid such impacts or to improve the efficiency of EIGRP domain, we need to avoid querying to all routers. Instead, query should go only to the router which really can respond back with a reply. Querying everyone whenever there is a primary route fails, when there is no feasible successor, queries will be sent to all neighbor. But all neighbor may not be in a position to respond. So when they don't respond, what happens? EIGRP thinks that they are not properly associated, so it resets the neighbor by discarding the neighbor and re-establishing the neighbor, which not only impacts this two router, it also impacts all other routers in the downstream and as well as the upstream. To avoid this, we have to configure stub. When we configure stub, in these routers like spokes routers like C, D and E, when we configure stub, these routers will report to B and A with their status. Along with the network advertisement, a special message, an additional message information is shared to the spokes router about their status. If you see here, the definition is like this. The stub router sends a special peer information packet to all the neighbor routers to report its status as what? As a stub router. Stub router is nothing but a router that can say, I don't know. I'm not responsible. When you don't configure stub, what happens is this B router will query everyone, but everyone is not in a position to respond to the query. As a result, stuck in active scenario comes. B will be stuck in the active state in determining the best path for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, the neighbors will be, those neighbors that did not respond will be removed from the neighbor list, and a new neighbor will be re-established. But when you configure stub, like stub connected, stub receive only, stub static, stub summary, stub default, the routers will say, if I am stub connected, I'll say, hey, I'm advertising these connected networks. Other networks I don't know. Don't ask me. So B won't ask. If a router is stub static, then the router is going to send a special message saying, this static redistributed route I have. If this query is related to the static route which I have, I'll accept. The rest of the things I don't know. That don't know was not there before configuring stub. Only after you configure stub, The router says what it knows and what it do not know. That solves the problem. When you ask someone for help, if that someone is simply smiling and then if he goes, what do you think? You are in a confused state. Because he smiled at you, you may think that he will help you. But he might have smiled at you saying, my condition is much poorer than your condition. That may be the meaning of his smile. But you misunderstood that he smiled because he wants to help me. And if you keep waiting for him, the help never comes. Likewise, in EIGRP, before configuring stub, the routers never give a clear answer, no or don't know. If you don't know, it will not say don't know. If you don't know, it will send the query to the downstream neighbor and wait. Now, the stub is of 5 types. If you simply configure stub, which is considered a stub default, you are enabling these 2 types of stub. One is stub connector, another one is stub summary. This 2 gets enabled when you simply say EIGRP stub. You did not mention any of this. Then stub connector and stub summary will be enabled. What is stub connected? When I configure EIGRP stub connected, the router will advertise only the connected route, meaning the network that is assigned on that router on various interfaces, which is what we call it as connected. The router will advertise only the connected network. It won't advertise any other network, the networks that learned from upstream, downstream, neighbors, redistributed routes, summary routes. None of this it will advertise. It will advertise only the connected, physically connected network to the neighbor. Rest of the network, it won't advertise nor take any responsibility for those networks. That is stub connected. Where I can use this EIGRP stub connected? If you will have a router which is not truly connected to anyone here, or it may be connected to a LAN, that's all. It is not connected to any router. It is connected to a LAN network. So when you configure stub connected, it will advertise this network, this network, this network, and it will also tell B, I don't know anything other than these 3 networks. So B need not to query unnecessarily for a network which is not connected in any way, any manner to C. When do we use stub summary? When we have a router which is a summary router which has got summarization for many networks, and you want only to advertise summary route, then we can configure stub summary. So none of the connected networks will be advertised, only the summary route will be advertised, so that B can query any network that is within the summarization, within the summary route. Other networks it won't query. That's stub summary. Stub summary will advertise only the summary route. Detailed routes it won't. And it won't take responsibility for any other static redistributed network or network learned from remote neighbor. It will only take responsible for those networks that is within the summarization limit. That's what stub summary means. So we have learned connected, summary, we learned default. Default advertises what is default. This is what default. EIGRP stub is what called as default. This router that is configured with EIGRP stub will advertise both connected and summary. Connected route as well as summary route. Even if it has got some redistributed static route, it won't send. It won't send any other networks that are learned in the routing table via EIGRP. So EIGRP stub is one nice way to filter routes. If I want to filter all the routes that learn from other router, other neighbor, I can simply configure EIGRP stub connected and summary. So the networks that are learned from downstream won't be advertised. I did not write any filter list, no distribution list. There is two more. Let's finish the easy one. Receive only. See, assume that E router is connected only to B. Assume E is connected only to B. And there is no LAN network. So E don't have really anything to advertise, correct? Because it didn't, because it is not connected to any other router nor LAN. E has got nothing to advertise. So you can configure receive only, so that it will receive updates from B, and it will tell B, I don't have anything to give you. That's what receive only. I don't have anything to give you. So B will not query unnecessarily E for any network, because B knows very well E is receive only router, which means he don't have any network. So I need not to consider while querying. Kindly go through this. I'll give you 1 minute and then I'll ask you a question. If B is configured as stub connected, will it advertise 10.1.0.0/16? 10.1.0.0/16 will be advertised 10.1.0.0/16 if I have a summary route. Will it advertise if I configure stub connected?
No.
Yes, it won't. Correct. No is the right answer. Because we are saying stub connected, there is no connected network with /16. So it advertises only 10.1.2.0/24 and 10.1.3.0/24. It won't advertise anything less than 24 prefix length nor any other network. When I configure B as summary, stub summary, you see we have a summary route, manual summary configured under serial 0. We are summarizing as /23. Yeah. So only this network will be advertised. Even the directly connected /24 won't be advertised because we are configuring stub summary. If you don't mention summary nor connected, if you don't mention, then it is going to advertise this, as well as the summary. When we configure EIGRP Stub static, will there be advertisement about 10.1.2.0/24 and 10.1.3.0/24 from router B? Definitely not. Why? We are saying this router is stub router except the static route which is advertised into EIGRP. See, static route is advertised into EIGRP using what? A feature called redistribution. We have redistributed static, and this is the static route. And when we say EIGRP stub static, because the static route is also redistributed, EIGRP will advertise only that static route. These things that you have configured is of no use. It won't advertise because they are connected. We mentioned only stub static. Receive only, we all know. When we configure receive only, this B router will not advertise anything to A. It will simply inform I am not responsible for any network. Right. So EIGRP query process struck inactive. The router has to get all the replies from all the neighbors with an outstanding query before the router calculates the successor information. This is the problem. To solve the problem, we are doing the stub. What is the problem? When a primary route goes down, when a successor route goes down, and when there is no feasible successor, the router is going to send queries to all the neighbors. If I have 10 neighbors, it will send to all 10 neighbors asking for the route to reach the destination which is lost. And this query goes to all the 10 neighbors. They all will send an acknowledgement, but they will not be able to reply because they may not be knowing about the destination for which it is queried. So when they don't respond, this router cannot decide on a successor till all 10 responds. Even if one responds, it cannot decide. In order to calculate the new path, it needs response from every neighbor to which the query has been sent. We call this a struck inactive. So if any neighbor fails to reply to the query within 3 minutes, by default the router is struck inactive, meaning the router is going to reset the neighbor. The router is stuck inactive. The neighbor is not ready to respond. The neighbor is not in a position to respond. Maybe it is struck. So we need to reset. So it resets the neighbor relationship. What is resetting the neighbor relationship? It will say, I am not your neighbor anymore. And then when a new hello comes from the neighbor, it reestablishes, which is going to be a disruptive. This will impact every router in the autonomous system, not only the immediate router. To avoid all this, we need to configure struck inactive. So when you don't have struck inactive, Query is sent and waited, and then reset of relationship happens. But when you configure struck inactive, query is sent, and whoever is configured to reply, they will reply. Others will not reply because they have already sent the status information. As a result, the router will never go struck inactive. There won't be queries sent to unnecessarily to every router. It sends only to the neighbor who really can answer, and they are going to respond back. So that's about stub EIGRP. See, stub EIGRP and stub OSPF are not same. So understand this very well and do not correlate this with OSPF stub. There the purpose of OSPF stub is totally different. OSPF supports 4 different types of stub network. So let us not correlate this with that. This is different, that is different. So remember this one very well so that you will know the difference between this and that when we go to that. So before we configure and see this stub, let us go and finish this chapter by saying goodbye. What is goodbye? When a router goes down, or when EIGRP in a router goes down, before going down, the final packet is what we call it as goodbye packet. Why it is saying goodbye? Is it really a terminology used by EIGRP? Yes. You can see router A's message, router A with a message saying goodbye received from B. A will be receiving a message saying goodbye received from B. What is that goodbye then? How A knows that it is a goodbye message? When all the K values of the packet is 255. When all the K values are 255. A router will know that we should not use it because of the bad metric. See, all are multiplied by 255. Delay is multiplied by 255, load is multiplied by 255. So A now understands that the network is gone down. That's why we are receiving this 255. Usually K value will be only 1, not 255. K value for bandwidth will be 1. K value for delay will be 1. K value for all other will be 0, like reliability, load and MTU. I'm going to show you this goodbye message by capturing a packet. So when a goodbye is received from B, A now focuses on C to reach the internet, because C is the feasible successor to reach the internet. Now the C route will become a successor because A has received already a goodbye from B. So it focuses on C. Yep. So we got a topology where we can test this stub that we have learned. On this computer, this is the IP address. I've not configured any IP address on any of the routers. I'm going to do it now with the help of a notepad. So let me start from router 1. Router 1 has got one loopback interface. And another physical interface. And let us enable EIGRP router. Let's use the autonomous system number 100. This should be same on every router. Alright, this I'm going to paste on router 1. You see, as per our expectation, we got two interfaces running EIGRP. One is the logical interface loopback 0, the other one is the physical interface G00. But so far no neighbor is discovered because we have not configured any of the other routers. Let's configure router 4. Router 4. Router 4 has got no interface except that one physical interface G00. No LAN, nothing. Now I'm expecting a neighbor with R1. Yeah, I do see a neighbor with R1. This is the R1's IP address. Let me configure now R3. Well, let's finish R2. Okay, two loopbacks, okay, three loopbacks and one physical, correct. Just one last router. And then 192, this one is 10 and dot 3. The loopback is going to be no loopbacks here. 10 network and 192 network. Alright, so it's time to verify. Before we get into stub verification, let's try pinging from this computer to router 1's loopback. I'm able to ping router 1's loopback from that computer that is down behind router 3. Fine, now what is next? We got EIGRP running. And router 1 it has got a route. Let's focus on only those routes that is coming from router 2 now. From router 2 we are getting this and we are getting this. Yep, 12, 12. 12, 13. If I'll say IP EIGRP Stub summary on router 2, we will not get any routes from router 2. Why? Because router 2 has got no summary route. If you have a summary route in R2, you see, here is R2. Show IP route EIGRP. Do you see any summary route? No. So when I do now router EIGRP 100 EIGRP stub summary, you will not be learning any routes from router 2. No routes from router 2. This is the route from router 3. So you won't be able to ping 12. You should not configure stub summary when you have some networks like you have one on router 2. You should not configure. You need to know where to configure, which type of stub to configure where. Stub summary is not the right command. If you want to advertise summary route from router 2, then you may use the command stub summary. Like what? Let me show you. Like interface G0/0 IP summary address for EIGRP 100. I'm saying 12.0.0.0 255.0.0.0. And then one more summary address, IP summary address EIGRP 100 2.0.0.0. I have two summary routes. Now both will be advertised because we have said EIGRP stub summary, and under the interface we have done these two summary routes. When you check the routing table, show IP route EIGRP, earlier you were not having the summary route pointing towards null. Now you got a summary route. We have also configured EIGRP stub summary as a result. Earlier we were not learning about 12 network and 2 network, but you will be learning now. 12 network with summarization, 2 network with summarization from router 2. So you know now where to use the command EIGRP stub summary. When you have summary routes and if you want to advertise and take responsibility only for the summary route, then you may use that command. Next, If I say connected in this router 2, it is of no use because I have done summarization. No, it will not advertise the summary, it will advertise the connector. Let's go and do it and see. Router EIGRP 100, I am removing this stub summary. Instead, I am saying EIGRP stub connected. See, we have advertised the connected network. And we said we want to advertise only the summary, connected, not the summary. As a result, in router 1, if you check now, we are able to see all the connected networks. But you see there is no summary. There is only detailed routes. But if you want summary as well as connected, then I need to simply stop typing EIGRP Stub. That's all. Now both the connected and the summary should be advertised. Let's see. Now I see the summary, but I don't see the connected. You know why? The summary is the summary of that connected. That's why. The summary is the summary of that connected. It cannot share. When you say share both, it cannot share both because for those detailed routes, this is the connected route. But if you want to have any one, you may have it. If you want to have detailed route, then you can say EIGRP Stub connected there. Then you will get detailed routes as we saw before. Or if you say only summary, you will get the same route, same result. Summary, EIGRP Stub summary, same result. Because these are the summary of those connected networks. You cannot advertise both. It will not be correct. We have seen stub connected, we have seen stub summary. Now you see, on R4 you can configure stub receive only because there is nothing to give, no? In R4 there is nothing to give. See, if I will configure receive only on router 2, see what happens. EIGRP stub receive only. RECEIV. I have said EIGRP stub receive only. So router 2 will not advertise neither connected nor the summary. We can check it on R1. See? Because it is receive only. Now last step that we want to learn here is the static. Let's say we have a static route in R2. I remove this. Let's write a static route. IP route 122.122.122.122. Send it to, or send it via loopback 12. You cannot send it to a loopback 12. I'm just writing on one static route. You can even point towards a null interface, null 0. This is just for testing we are doing, right? So I will go now, router EIGRP 100 redistribute static with a metric of k values like done. So now what you will see is external route. This is the static route that got distributed into EIGRP. Now if you wish to learn only this one and not the other networks, or if you wish to advertise from R2 only the static redistributed route, not any other info like directly connected or summary, then all I need to do is I'll go to router 2 and say router EIGRP 100, EIGRP stub static. Now earlier we were seeing 222, 12, but now we lost all those 222 and 12. You got only the, from router 2 you got only the static redistributed route. Now, question to you. Anyone can answer. Among these three routers, router 2, 3 and 4, on which router it is appropriate to configure EIGRP stub connected? Did you get the question? Please answer. If you are answering, unmute and answer.
R3.
Very nice. Because we don't have any other routers behind R3. You will not be learning any routes from anywhere downstream. You don't have any summary route. R3 is the best place to configure EIGRP stub connected. Fine. Next question. Which router is appropriate to configure? Which router is appropriate to configure stub receive only?
R4.
Excellent. Right. So you understood the concept of summarization is on now. I just removed EIGRP. I put back the EIGRP. Summarization is on by default now. So it is doing summary for those 10 networks. And now 1 networks with some metric. It is doing the summarization. But the newer versions, they don't do summarization. Not only that, if you see here, there is no router ID for EIGRP. But in the newer version, you will see a router ID. On top of all this, we will be able to provide an autonomous system name. Not exactly an autonomous system name, a process ID as a name. Usually in EIGRP, we don't provide any process ID. But in the newer version, you can have a process ID under which you can have multiple EIGRP autonomous system on a single router. That's what we are going to see next. The reason why I am going to have this loopback interfaces on these two routers, or want to test whether the routes are learnt. Second one, like OSPF, EIGRP will also use this loopback interface as the router ID. That's why. Router 2 configuration. Let me try pinging from here to the directly connected address before I enable EIGRP. Okay, I have typed ping and I'm expecting responses. Yes, I get responses from the directly connected. Let us go and enable EIGRP now. Right now I don't have any protocol, any routing protocol running on these two routers. Show IV protocol, you will see that. I don't have anything. No routing protocol. So now let us enable routing protocol EIGRP. You see router EIGRP question mark. You can give a process ID, which is nothing but virtual instance ID, or you can go with a classical autonomous system number. You can do anything that you like. I'm going to say a virtual instance name. This instance is to identify EIGRP process. Within this EIGRP process, you may have one or more autonomous system. Within one instance, you may have one or more autonomous systems. Right now, we just got only one neighbor with one autonomous system. So let me give a name like router EIGRP autonomous system. Just a name. It can be a mixture of name and number, means alphabets and numbers, no problem. Alright, so we are now into a virtual instance of EIGRP. To which autonomous system does EIGRP belong to? None. Not yet configured. Now we are going to say address family IPv4 unicast autonomous system, let's say 100. Like this, you may have many autonomous systems. But for autonomous system 100, who is my neighbor? Or what autonomous system 100, which interface I want to run EIGRP? The interface that has got 10.12. You may have multiple interface which you want to put in different autonomous system. For that you will say address family IPv4 unicast autonomous system maybe 200. And you will be pointing towards different network, different interface. So under one instance of EIGRP you can have multiple autonomous systems. That's the advantage of this newer version. You see, when you put question mark, you have a command network 10.0.0.0. Now I just exit from here. Show IP EIGRP interfaces. You see there is an interface called G00 which is inside the autonomous system 100 that is under the virtual instance autonomous. But so far no neighbor is discovered because the other side is not configured. The other side router can run a classical method of EIGRP or the same method of EIGRP with an instant name. That doesn't matter. As long as it is coming from, hello is coming from autonomous system 100, they will form neighbor. You see, let me show you. Alright, before that I want to show you something more here. Show IP protocol. Now you can see EIGRP 100 is running. Alright, it's a 64-bit version of EIGRP. And you see a router ID. We are not running EIGRP on that interface. See, we are running EIGRP only on the interface that has got 10. And also you see the automatic summarization is disabled in the newer version. The other things are same, okay, the administrative distance is same. Maximum path supported is same. Those things are same. K1 and K3 is what considered. K6 is for IPv6, so don't worry about it. K6 will not be seen in our older EIGRP. You will have only K5, up to K5. Now, where are we? Let's go to R2 and configure EIGRP. See, here I am saying router EIGRP 100 straight away. I am not using that virtual instance. And I am saying network 2.2.2.2, network 10.12.0, boom. I'm expecting see neighbor. A neighbor has come. So there is compatibility between this and that, no problem. As long as the autonomous system number is correct. Now let us check in R1, show IP root EIGRP. I should be seeing 2.2.2.2. So the difference that we saw here is two major differences. One is you got a virtual instance so that you can have multiple autonomous system under one instance of EIGRP. The second difference that we saw is the router ID picked up dynamically from the loopback interface. If you don't have loopback interface, it's going to pick from the physical interface. The other big difference that we saw is the summarization is disabled. Yeah. Next is, let me add interface loopback. So I'll need to go back to router instance name and then go back inside the autonomous system and I'll say network 10. This is the system. This is how you have to say. Now I should be seeing 1111 network on router 2. See show IP route. I advertised simply 1000, but because they don't do summarization by default, you're getting /32 without any summarization. And if you try pinging, you will be able to ping now. Now let us say we got a static route, IP route 122.122.122.122 pointing towards some null interface. Some interface. I don't want to give any interface, so I am giving null interface. I need a static route and I want to advertise this under EIGRP. How do you do? This is router 2. We are using classical method here. Router EIGRP 100 redistribute static and then we'll say K values. K1 metric, K value is bandwidth 1, K2 is delay 1, K3 reliability 1, K4 loading 1, K5 MTU 1. There is no K6. Now I should be learning this route on R1. You know, I made some mistake. Show IP route. I do have the static route.
Static subnets.
Not necessary. Subnet keyword is not needed. This is not OSPF. So
can you do show IP EIGRP topology on R1? I think the metric is higher.
no.
It's infinity.
Oh, because of null zero.
No, because you are using 1111. You cannot use 111 in the named EIGRP. The metric goes higher, so you need to change the metric values.
But we have not used named here. Anyway,
no,
then okay, the newer version. That's what you mean.
Yeah.
Router EIGRP 100. The redistribution redistribute static metric 1000 bandwidth. Delay is low delay. Reliability is highly reliable. Load is less. MTU is yep, you're right. So now I should be seeing the route. We got the external route. Now let's see the similar redistribution command in the newer version under the instance. So we will have a static route here, IP route 111. So we need to go under the virtual instance autonomous system, and definitely you must go to the autonomous system address family autonomous system, and only then it will know under which autonomous system I should put this redistributed network. I'm saying redistribute. See, there's a command called redistribute right here. If not, it will be inside the topology. That's why I brought you here. Topology base. That's the topology base. You will find redistribute command inside the topology base. Right, redistribute static. Same metric, bandwidth 1000, delay, reliability, load, MTU. That's it. So now I should be seeing this route on the other side. Show IP route EIGRP. We are seeing 1111. Because it's a null interface, okay? So no one is there to respond. If I would have pointed towards some loopback, I would have got some response. I will not be able to ping. I will only receive the route because it's pointing towards null interface there. Yeah. All right. So there's nothing more to know about EIGRP version 2 other than this. Practically speaking, this topology based command is needed for you to do redistribution, because the the redistribute command won't be available under the address family. You need to go under the topology base. Other things like timers, you will know when you need it. If you come here, you will know it. If you want to change the route ID, you may use this one for topology. This one, base. Variance, if you want to do, only you need to do under the topology base. Redistribute offset list. Maximum path, if you want to increase for this autonomous system. Distribution list. All these are under the topology base. Summarization, default metric, if you want to give. Yeah. So when you have some scenarios, you come here inside the topology base. First you check under the address family. If you don't find, then you are trying to do something related to the topology, so it should be under the topology base only. Yep. That's it. Question.